Okay, now we're going to talk about lentils. Is anybody eating lentils? Nice. They're so meaty and chewy, and when you're on the cleanse, you're just like, oh, it's like a treat to get to have lentils. Lentils are great to have on hand pre-cooked because you can add them into anything to give yourself a little extra something to help fill your stomach. So I cooked the lentils separately for this dish because I wanted to use them for other things. You could add them in to soups. You could add it in with your stir-fried or mixed vegetables or anything that you've baked. So keep that in mind. Think about the different ways that you can eat lentils. You can make a lentil stew. So there's different types of lentils. The traditional ones that we see all the time are these right here, the brown lentils. They're actually called green, but they're brown. I don't know why they call them green. They do. They're brown lentils. And then you can get there's black, there's orange, there's yellow, and you can get organic, of course. So there's different varieties. The main thing you want to make sure you do is you want to rinse your lentils. So get them soaking. You don't have to soak overnight or for a length of time, but you do want to rinse them, and you'll see residue coming up off of them, and then you just kind of pick through them. So for example, like with this bag,
and the flavors are different of each?
They are slightly different, yeah. I would recommend reading the package and seeing how they're, what they say about their lentils. I can't really tell you that I can tell a difference, to tell you the truth. I have noticed that the yellow and the red seem to cook up faster, and they're slightly thinner than these guys are. And they also they're more delicate. They kind of fall apart a little bit more. So for me, it's more of a how does it feel in my mouth kind of thing. So when I cook those, I'll generally have them with something else, not by themselves. The brown or the green lentils, super, like I said, meaty is the best thing I can come up with. The texture is chewy in your mouth, and they don't mush as fast. And then I thought there was something different about the black ones. They're just smaller. And I'm sure if you wanted to line them up, you could maybe taste a little difference out of each of them, but I've never really cooked them all at the same time to figure it out. If you look online, there are lentil connoisseurs, and I've done that before, and they'll say, oh, there's this and that about each one. I can't tell the difference.
So you don't mix the different kinds?
You can. Yeah, you can, but keep in mind that they cook a little differently. So I might cook them up separately. If you want to have a day that you're going to cook a few lentils, they only take about 20 minutes or so to cook, and then put them in separate containers and mix them however you'd like. Sprinkle a little on a salad. Okay, so you're going to filter through your lentils, you're going to rinse them, and then you just kind of pick out any ones that look funky to you, basically. Maybe one that's turned all black or one that's floating on the top, but you won't have a lot to pick through. There's generally like 5 pieces that I'll get out. So you rinse them, and then you'll put it through a colander and drain off the water. And then you're going to add in, now on your recipe packet, I put 8 cups of water. You don't need 8 cups. You need 4 cups. 4 cups of water with 2 cups of lentils. And you're going to pour your water in, and you're going to let it boil. You're going to bring it up to a boil and then turn it down to a simmer for about 20 minutes. I like covering because it just helps steam those vegetables and keeps all of the heat in and gets them softer. And sometimes I'll only cook for 20 minutes, and I'll be very careful not to overcook because you can't go back. Once you cook them and they're mushy, they're mushy. But you can leave them on the stovetop for a little bit longer with a lid over it, and if they're warm, they're going to keep cooking. Make sense? Well, because the lid is over it, the moisture is being kept in there, and it'll keep steaming. Yeah, but the liquid will absorb, and you won't have much liquid left at all. Okay? Any questions on that, on cooking lentils? Okay, so we were talking about the lentils, and I told you I like to pre-cook them. So this is what that's going to look like when they come out. I didn't drain these. I just let them sit. So you can see that there's a little bit of moisture in there. If I wanted them super dry, I might get a tablespoon or 2 of water out of here. And you can see that they're still holding together. They're not mushy at all. All right, I'm going to set that over here. I'm going to get my pan heating because now I'm going to start putting in some different veggies to go in with my lentils. So I have selected a few things, and you could change out however you would like, whatever you'd like to put in there. But for this purpose today, we're going to put some celery and some carrots and some onions in our lentil. And yes, garlic, of course. Yes.
The lentils are okay on the cleanse?
Yes, lentils are okay on the cleanse, and you're going to be thankful.
all excited about this.
Oh, I know, and you're going to be thankful for them when you have them. You're like, oh, thank you, because it's warm and yeah.
Substance.
Yeah, you can chew on them. Yeah, you'll love it. Okay, so for our, you can chop these up however you want. I'm just going to go for it. For our celery, I like to do a couple of them at a time, and I'm going to chop off the ends. I do go down the rib of the celery just to make my bite-sized pieces a little bit smaller. I've got bad aim today, making a mess back here. Okay, and then we're going to chop it up. Yeah, the poor chickens, they saw me going with all that food. Okay, nice. Now we're going to do our carrots, and you can peel your carrots if you want, or not, it's up to you. There's a little extra added fiber if you don't, and a little less time, of course. But I'll leave that one up to you guys. I like to show you guys prep while I'm here because I think when you watch those cooking shows on TV and everything's all cut and chopped for you, I think, yeah, I'd like to have it that way too. Where I come into the kitchen and everything's like in this nice little container already pre-measured, but that's not the way it is at home. And so for some of you that know how to chop carrots and celery and all of that, that's great. I think that's awesome. I've actually had some people say, thank you for showing me that. I didn't know how quick you could cut a bell pepper, or, I'm not good in the kitchen. But I show you mostly just to prove it can be done. That you can cook fast. Of course, I chop fast, but that's just because I chop a lot. And I have a great knife. My husband got me, this is my Christmas gift. I love it. And last year he got me, this was my Christmas gift, or a year before. Love these knives. You got to have a good sharp knife in the kitchen. Okay, so here's a tip. Did you guys see how I cut that before? Sometimes we chop things lengthwise and then we go back through and chop it again, but I'm like, that's too muchness. I go ahead and just chop them ahead of time while I've got it all together, and then I go through and do my smaller slices. So we've got about 4 carrots here, 2 ribs of celery, 4 carrots depending on their size. Ooh, that one made it in. Apparently my undershot's good. The thinner you slice it, the quicker these are going to cook, and we are going to try and keep these crispy tender. This is also something that you can do ahead of time. So if you had wanted to, you could do a bigger batch of, say, some stir-fried, or we're going to use a pot, not necessarily stir-frying it, vegetables that you could throw into anything later. Any of your other creations that we'll be doing throughout this day.
Those are foundations to just about every soup.
I know, right? You notice how I'm cutting both ends of the onion off, and then I go straight down the middle, and that way I can easily peel off the outside. But yes.
You notice that one time because I struggle and I get out of an onion that size, I get about this much to use. So, well, how did Ray do it? So I tried on a full batch of onions.
That's how I do it. And I told you guys this before, but I learned that at Taco Bell, my first tax-paying job when I was like 15. I used to have to cut, I'd say, like 50 pounds of onions a day. It was nuts. So how much onion do I have on there, you guys? This is quite a bit. Maybe a half an onion would be good.
Just one onion.
Yeah. This one's a pretty good sized onion, so. There we go. Maybe a little bit more. Okay, now we're going to get this sauteing in the pan while I chop up the other ingredients. My pan is heating. Hopefully that's not too hot. It's always tricky for me to use these electric this portable one. But at home, you're going to be cooking on medium-low heat. You can bring things up to a medium, and then once they start to sizzle, turn it down to a low, because we don't want to overcook, and we want to keep them, as healthy as possible. We're lightly cooking everything. See how that pan heated and it's burning up a bit? That's not good. I don't like seeing that smoke. My pan was too hot. I'm going to give it a chance to cool just a bit. Because when you overheat like that, that's called we're kind of like burning the oil. And then you start losing some of your properties. So we're going to cool it.
Good fat into a bad fat.
Thank you, exactly. So I'm going to cool that down just a little bit. Let's see, I can use this. And this is a super heavy cast iron pot, so it's going to take it a second. I think that's much better. Okay. All right, so we're going to go ahead and throw our veggies in. Back to this. And we are going to let them cook only for about 5 minutes. While it's cooking, I'm going to chop up my garlic and my spices because they don't need to cook as long as the carrots and the onions in here do, and the celery. I'm going to add back in a little of my oil. So again, we're doing about a teaspoon to a tablespoon, depending on how much you're cooking. Nice. All right, so while that's cooking, we're going to come back over here and get our spices ready. So I do have garlic. And I'm wondering if I brought a garlic press. Usually I do. I don't see it out, but I'll go ahead and just chop this one up nice and fine. And you can do a couple cloves of garlic, but you guys do notice some of them are smaller and some of them are bigger. I usually in this will do, like a small tablespoon worth. Or if I'm really wanting more garlic, more. Who likes garlic? Does everybody in here like garlic? Oh, good. And it's so good for you. It's good for your heart. And in the winter time, it boosts your immune system. So I eat a lot of it. Plus, because it's any of the hot herbs and spices, they get your metabolism going, speed up your body. So all kinds of good reasons to eat it. So people just have to deal with your breath. That's all. This is coming along nice. Okay, so I'm hearing it sizzle. That means I can turn it down to low, and there's moisture coming off my vegetables. So when I put this over, it's almost like I'm steaming it without having to put water in it. Their own juices are working to cook and steam the vegetables. Yes, there's heat on the bottom of the pan, but it's very low. And that's going to cook for 5 to 10 minutes. I'm going to throw my spices in there. If I wanted to, I could just turn off the heat and leave it, and it would continue to steam and cook and get softer. Let's get back to our garlic here. We're going to do some nice thin slices. This would be how you are going to mince garlic if you don't have a nice little garlic press. So you do your nice thin slices, and then you're going to pull it back together and go across those slices. And then you're going to pass one more time over it. And you're going to end up making little squares. And boy, I really don't like my cutting board today. It's giving me trouble. There we go. Nice. See how it's coming out nice and thin? Nice little squares. That's called mincing. And you just pass back over it. And again, get yourself a good sharp knife. If you don't have one, take it to the butcher and ask them to sharpen it for you. Or go ahead and give yourself the gift of having a nice sharp knife and go get one. Yep, someone's going to have to give me push-ups. Just kidding. Great, it's Ken's mom. Now I'm in trouble. All right, so we're going to throw that into our pot, but let's go ahead and do some more seasoning. So I've got flat leaf and curly parsley. This is the flat Italian variety. I don't know why, but I tend to like it more. I think it's just got better flavor. I think this looks pretty, but if you want to pass these around and take a taste, take a leaf, help yourself, and see if you can tell the difference. I grow these in my citrus plants. So I have citrus growing, dwarf citrus growing in containers on my deck. And then we put the herbs around it. So you have the citrus plant and then the herbs around it. It's kind of a nice way to utilize space and have them close to my kitchen.
Did you get a new kaffir lime?
I didn't. No, unfortunately we killed our lime tree, the kaffir lime tree, but I haven't gotten a new one. Maybe this spring I'll get one. Okay, so I'm just taking off the leaves, and I'm going to go ahead and chop that up nice and small. I don't know about this chopping board. I'll tell you what. It's fired. Jackie, can you make a note that I need to just have one here? I'll go ahead and get a bamboo or something nice that we can just keep on hand, because this is no bueno. Luckily, I don't have too many things that I need to chop up nice and fine today. Normally at home, I'm like, bah, 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 but everything would go shoo. Ashton heard me. He's like, Mom, what are you doing down there? It sounds like you're firing a gun. How do you do that? I'm like, lots of experience. All right, that'll work. Okay, let's throw this in. Oh, one of the other things you can put in is some thyme. Okay, so now this is turned down too low. Turn up just a bit. That'll give me time to chop some thyme. All right, so for the thyme, this, let me get some cleaner pieces here. Some of those have little brown dying leaves on it. Okay, so for your fresh thyme, you are going to strip it kind of like how we did the rosemary. You're just going to take it and lightly press against the stems and pull the leaves off. And thyme takes a little bit of time to prep because the leaves are small. When you have fresh thyme like this, the wooded part is down closer to the base of the plant and not up at the ends. So even if you get little pieces like this in there, don't worry about it, just chop it up. Unless you know it bugs you and you want to pull it out, but you really, you can squeeze it and you'll feel it and you can tell it's completely edible, and it's not going to be like a stick in your whatever you're making. So about a tablespoon would be great. I don't know, what did I write on my recipe? I'm thinking a tablespoon sounds good. Mm-hmm. Yep, is that what I got?
Yep.
All right, good. I will pass some of this thyme around so you guys can see. Smell it, crush it in your hand. Love it, live it. Good, that one's got the dirty, icky part on it. Okay, so we're gonna chop this up nice and small. Yeah, thyme is really nice, and it gets these, I don't know if you guys can see this, it can flower. It gets this pretty little pink purple flower. Oh, yeah. And you can get variegated thyme, some that's got like the stripes on the leaves. It's really pretty. Nice little garden accent. Okay, so now we've got that chopped up. See, you know, you can make yummy food even with a crummy cutting board. But you gotta have a good knife. That's the trick. Okay, good. This is ready to put into our vegetables that are back up to steaming again. Good. Okay, now we're gonna put this in here. This already smells pretty good, but we're gonna put this in here, and it's gonna get better. Nice. I love fresh herbs and spices, and if you are checking on my website or you purchasing any of my spices, you'll see that I always like to tell you the health benefits of them. When you're eating fresh or fresh dried herbs and spices, it's really good for you. In most cases, it helps you maintain a healthy, active lifestyle. It's going to be good for your heart, it's going to be good for your immune system, it's going to be good for your metabolism, it's going to give you extra vitamins and minerals. It's just really, really good to do, and it's going to flavor up your food. Can you guys smell that already? Woo! Now we're going to change it just a little bit more. I'm going to add in some more spice. My Amazing Blend. Okay, so Amazing Blend, Harvest Blends, and you can use Italian seasoning, you use taco seasoning if you wanted, you could use steak rub if you wanted, just to add in a little more spice. You could use Indian curry if you wanted, or yellow curry. There's all kinds of other ways that you can spice it up. But today I chose the Amazing Blend because it's got kind of like a sausagey flavor. And wouldn't lentils be nice with some nice chunks of sausage, but not while you're on the cleanse. You can't have that. But you can have the flavor of it. So in the Harvest Blends Amazing Blend, it used to be called Italian sausage, but I changed the name because it's got all the ingredients that you would find in Italian sausage. So it's Italian seasoning, and it's paprika and fennel. and that gives it that sweet licoricey kind of flavor. Of course, lots of garlic and all of that in there too. So we're going to put about a tablespoon of that in while the vegetables are sauteing. And when you do that while you're sauteing, the heat kind of makes the oils in the blend release, and it gets fragrant and more flavorful. So instantly, it changed how it smelled. And you guys will probably get that back there in just a second. And it's going to change how it tastes. Okay, our vegetables are slightly starting to turn crispy tender. Okay, and so I'm going to put the lid back on and let it steam while I get some kale ready. So kale, if you want to let it cook for a while, you can actually cook the stems. But I would have, if you're going to do that, I would have put that in with the celery, and I didn't think to do that because they are kind of tough. And if you don't take them out, since I'm just going to kind of steam these, then you're going to be chewing on it and be like, oh, I'm not so sure I like that. So if you want to use them, go for it, but just take the stem out and cut it up and saute it with your celery and onions. Does that make sense? Okay, great. I actually keep that part on when I make a kale salad, and what I'll do is I'll cut that part out, but then I'll go back over it and I'll cut it really super thin and put it in with my salad, and then it's crunchy. It's kind of nice added addition. And
Without cooking it at all?
without cooking it, yeah, just a raw kale salad. Super yummy that way. Okay, so I'm going to cut some nice kind of thinner pieces, I guess, and we're going to go back over it so that they're bite size. Kale's like a super, super, super rich food. Really, really good for you. Okay, so we've got some good chunks there. Now, I've also given you guys tips on the bottom of your recipe on how to bake butternut squash. I did this ahead of time, and it's also a nice thing to have in your refrigerator because you can sprinkle it on salads, you can put it in soups, you can put it in with your vegetables, and today we're going to put it into the lentils. But basically, all you do is you peel your butternut squash, and this is half of the squash. You know, they're normally got that kind of pear shape to them. And you peel it with just a regular potato peeler. And you can do a little bit at a time because it'll stay like this. I could even leave this on the counter, but I put it in the fridge. And it'll get a little dewy, but it'll stay like this for a long time. So you peel it. If you're using this part, you want to de-seed it, so you'd have to chop it in half and de-seed it. Peel it, chop it up, sprinkle a little olive oil and salt and pepper, and then bake it for like 30 minutes or so till it's crispy, tender, soft. All right, and now this is cooked and I can just throw it in with things like my lentils. So let's get this kale heating up.
I like to get the butternut squash pre-cubed like at Trader Joe's.
Nice, yep, you can totally do that. That would be...
I have the hand strength to mess with the peeling and cutting of it.
Yeah, and you know what? It dries out your hands. That's the worst part for me. The pH level of different fruits and vegetables sometimes will pull it out of your skin, and I am constantly washing my hands after I touch a butternut squash. But yeah, you can get things pre-chopped up. Just make sure you're getting organic.
Never free till when I cook mine, I cut it in half raw, de-seed it, bake it that way, and then
Yep.
when it's cool, peel it.
Nice, yep.
And cube it, and then I just stick it in the freezer.
Yeah, because it's a lot easier. It just comes right off. The skin will come right off. Or you can scoop it out. Yeah, and then you've got that added flavor of it being baked, which is kind of nice. It kind of caramelizes it a little bit. Yeah, those are all good tips, guys. I love it. Okay, so we are... I turned my heat back up just a little bit. It was on low. So these are, again, they're slightly crispy tender. You can see our kale is just kind of starting to wilt. And I'm going to add back in our lentils that we had pre-cooked. And then I'm going to add in the butternut squash. And this is going to be really, really yummy. And such a super flavorful treat, especially if you've been on the cleanse and you've been eating super clean. Although, I don't know, when I do the cleanse, I guess I miss meat. I think I do. I miss the comfort of that full filling feeling, but I flavor things up so much that certainly I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. I'm like, dang, I'm feeling great, and I feel good that I'm eating clean, and you know, it's good. I think you guys, if you follow some of these recipes, I think you'll enjoy them. Okay, so we're just stirring this all together. and basically heating our lentils, and I'm going to throw in some of this butternut squash that's going to be nice and sweet. You're going to think, I'm eating sugar, I just know it. That's because there is sugar in here, but when you're eating clean, if you're on the cleanse, then you're not going to be having any table sugar. And so when you taste this, if you've been on the cleanse for a few days, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, this is the sweetest thing on the planet. So it'll be a nice treat.
And you can eat butternut squash from the...
You can. You can, can't you, Jackie? Okay. I haven't done it since last year. I'm like,
I have a list printed out of the foods that you can eat on the cleanse.
Good. And you guys will get lots of information on that. Even if you're not planning to do the standard process cleanse, come to the information classes. Ken's going to give you so much information on nutrition and health that even if you didn't do the cleanse and you just followed an eating plan, I think you would do great. Or just gained knowledge on how awesome food is and what it means to your body.
Now that's a huge amount of food right there.
This is.
Can you freeze that after you
Yeah.
cooked it?
Yeah, absolutely. But I wouldn't cook it as much because there's going to be a couple things that's going to happen. When you freeze things, it kind of massacrates, right? If there's moisture in it, as it freezes, the process expands just like a ice cube, and it breaks apart the membranes and the fiber that you would get from the product. So if you intend on freezing, you can pre-cook, but only pre-cook slightly. Definitely don't overcook your food. Or you could cut the recipe down too. Yeah. Okay. So this is ready. I think we're heated up enough. You guys want to try this? This is going to be so good. Let's see what it looks like. Nice. Now, when you bite down on those carrots, if you're like, oh, I could have probably steamed that a little bit more, what you could do is you could leave it for about 10 minutes or so with the lid on it before you put the lentils back in. But you don't want to keep cooking it. You don't want it mushy. And keep in mind that most of our food, while we're doing the 10-day cleansing process, is supposed to be only lightly cooked or raw. Okay? So, let's serve this one up. Let's see.
Cleansing diet, what happens to the rest of the people?
They all eat what we eat, but then what I'll do is I'll have some like chicken.
Skinny kids do that.
My kids aren't skinny. Well, Caitlin's skinny. Caitlin's skinny, but they're all super healthy. And yeah, they eat everything that we eat, but I will give them some protein because they're growing. So I'll do like a chicken breast and I'll just pre-marinate some things and have it really easy so that I don't get tempted. I can just quickly put it in the oven with whatever I'm baking, and then they'll get that too. And then, you know, for lunch they're still eating bread. They're still having meat in their sandwiches, so they manage just fine.
You can make that into a soup.
Yes, and that is on your recipe packet. You could add in vegetable broth or chicken broth. The first 10 days of you're doing the cleanse, you do not add any meat products, so no chicken broth or beef broth. But you could use vegetable broth or you could add in some water. I always like to use vegetable or chicken or beef stock just because I think it adds a lot more flavor. If you're on a vegetarian diet or you're vegetarian, obviously, you know, water or vegetable broth. So again, on that lentils recipe, we had 4 cups of water, not 8. You can do 8, you just have to drain off the water. If you do 4 cups, you probably will not have any water to drain off of your lentils. And on the garlic, I put 2 cloves, not 1, but you guys know that that's up to you on your tasting. And lastly, remember, if you cover your lentils, they're going to cook faster. So if you don't cover them, you may need an extra 10 minutes or so of cooking, because when you're covering them, then that's going to help them steam. It's going to keep the steam in there and heat it up and cook it.